I am Robert Wexler. I have the privilege, along with my colleague, I'm Congressman Robert Wexler. It's my great privilege to join with the South Palm Beach County Jewish Federation at this extraordinary rally. It is my greater privilege to join with my colleague, Congressman Ron Klein, and our two colleagues from the Florida legislature, Representative Hasner and State Senator Deutsch, along with, of course, the Israeli Consul General and the rabbis and dignitaries that have spoken before me. Today we gather to express our unwavering support for Israel as it faces a campaign of terror perpetrated by Hamas, which has launched several thousand deadly rockets from Gaza into Israel over the last 7 years. We join together in expressing strong support for the Israeli government, which has evoked its unequivocal right to self-defense. And today, we express our solidarity with all Israelis who must know that they are not alone, most especially the 700,000 Israelis who live in Sderot, Ashdod, Ashkelon, Beersheba, and other cities in range of Hamas rockets and mortar shells. And the world must know that the American government stands shoulder to shoulder with Israel in its ongoing struggle for security and peace. All of us wish to see a stable, secure, and peaceful Middle East, free from violence. But it is unconscionable to expect that the Israeli government, or any other government for that matter, to sit idly by as thousands of deadly rockets rain down on its cities and threaten the well-being and security of its citizens. The status quo in Gaza is no longer acceptable. Instead of using violence and extremism to achieve its destructive goals, Hamas must adhere to the international principles established by the Quartet, including ending terrorism, recognition of Israel, and acceptance of previous agreements and obligations. The world must acknowledge how we came upon the deadly circumstances that exist in Gaza and how Israel took a risk for peace and Hamas chose conflict and terrorism. It was Hamas, not Israel, that in December abrogated the so-called truce by firing rockets at civilian population centers inside Israel. Even moderate Arab governments in Jordan and Egypt agree that Hamas's action left Israel little or no choice but to repel this threat to innocent Israelis. Israel has exercised extraordinary restraint after it bravely withdrew its forces and citizens from Gaza in 2005. Instead of seizing this historic opportunity to build a better future for Palestinians desperate for their own state, instead of building houses and schools for Palestinian families and children, Hamas maliciously chose to build bombs designed to kill indiscriminately as many Israelis as possible. Hamas chose to smuggle thousands of rockets and weapons instead of creating jobs for their own people, and embraced extremism and terrorism with the support of its patron Iran, instead of extending an olive branch and recognizing Israel's right to exist. In fact, Hamas continues to employ despicable tactics in violation of international law by embedding rocket launchers into mosques, schools, hospitals, and homes, and using innocent Palestinians as human shields. In these circumstances, the unbridled criticism of Israel by certain international leaders is both disingenuous and unjustified. And any allegations Any allegations of moral equivalency between Israel and Hamas are just patently false. Israel, as the commander discussed a bit before, Israel has taken great pains to limit humanitarian suffering. And in a recent briefing before the House of Representatives Foreign Affairs Committee, the Israeli ambassador to the United States, Sali Meridor, in a video demonstration showed how the Israeli Defense Force carefully waits until all individuals are vacated from weapon depots before using precision-guided missiles to destroy stockpiles of rockets and mortars. The IDF even calls on a cell phone residents in these targeted buildings to warn them before about the impending Israeli military action. How many other militaries in the world take such precaution to save innocent lives? Today we call upon the international community to join the United States in working towards a durable and sustainable ceasefire that ends Palestinian rocket and mortar attacks on Israel and prevents the further smuggling of destructive weapons into Gaza. As we reflect on the violence unfolding, we are mindful of the resilience and perseverance of the Israeli people, who continue to search for peace and security, even in the face of thousands of rocket attacks. While military power alone may not bring lasting peace between Israelis and Palestinians, I am convinced, and more importantly, to his credit, President George Bush has demonstrated that he is convinced. And I know, and Congressman Klein knows, that President-elect Obama will demonstrate this same resolute support for the state of Israel. But there is one important understanding that friends of Israel must always remember, and that is that viable peace can only be achieved from a position of strength. It is unrealistic and delusional for anyone to believe that Israel should continue to exhibit restraint endlessly when Hamas continues to fire untold numbers of rockets. If history is a judge in the Middle East, progress is most often made after Israel and the West show strength and resolve. Today, now, and in the days to come, Israel is showing its resolve, and we must stand with the Israeli people at this crucial time. With a sober spirit, we must all hope and pray that Israel succeeds in its mission of minimizing the terror threat from Hamas, and that its casualties are few, that innocent lives are spared on both sides, and above all, that Israel's efforts create the conditions for lasting peace and security for Israelis, Palestinians, and all people of goodwill. Am Yisrael Chai! Am Yisrael Chai! Am Yisrael Chai!